friend. You're listening to The Sustainable Bodyworker, the podcast for massage therapists who want to grow thriving, purpose-led businesses without the burnout. Here we talk about nervous system aligned business strategy, pricing that makes sense, client work that doesn't deplete you, and how to build a career that actually supports your life. I'm your host, Gretchen Pop, massage therapist, mentor, educator, and recovering overachiever. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. Today I am super excited to be welcoming Melinda Loo. Melinda is someone that I have had my eye on for a while as a mentor in the public massage forum space, and more recently we've been able to connect and collaborate more. She is an incredibly supportive business coach and mentor for massage therapists, and in this episode we get into all kinds of conversations. I could have spoken with her for so many more hours, and really what this episode is going into is our talk on burnout, the roots of it. We talk about her 4 pillars of success, which she coaches body workers through, and her own unique lived experience of how she got into massage therapy and how she's been able to have a really long career, 23-year career out of it, and is still going strong. So I hope you enjoy the episode. All right. Hello, Melinda. Thank you so much for joining. And let's just get right into it. I would love to kind of give you the opportunity to share a little bit about your journey into massage and how that eventually led into coaching and mentoring other practitioners.
Okay. Well, I have some unique stories. I'd say I started as a client. Many of us get into the field as clients first, and I had some dance injuries because I was a professional dancer. So I was a client on the table, and I remember my first massage thinking I was kind of angry because I was thinking to myself, how come I didn't know that I could feel this good? Like I felt so much better after a massage that I was like mad that I didn't know about it sooner, right? Like how long have I been suffering unnecessarily when I could have just been getting a massage? So I just feel like massage was this like wonderful world, like opening me up to really the whole field of holistic health and wellness. And I was on a personal journey myself to feel healthier. I got into this field young. I was 20 years old. And like I said, I started as a client. I had already kind of suffered with multiple health issues and concerns and a form of burnout from being a professional dancer, actually. So I was utilizing massage therapy and yoga and meditation and like healthy living as a way to rejuvenate my own health. And then I had this opportunity to basically be an apprentice under master healers and body workers, and I would call them like spiritual mentors of mine in their wellness center. And that really, to me, now that I've like been in this field so many years, realized what an incredible opportunity that is. That's really how the healing arts used to be passed on, with sort of master student style. And, like I said, this is 23 years ago or so. And I would say it was a little bit before the like explosion and the boom of the massage field in terms of the explosion of schools and the franchises and all that. So it was really like special. And, like I got a lot of private mentoring and tutorial. And so I feel like that really set me on this track for success right out the gate. I didn't even know that not everyone got to learn that way until later, again, in my career, and kind of transitioning into how did I become inspired to be a mentor and a teacher myself in the field. Well, I ended up moving to Connecticut from California, but my California hours didn't transfer to Connecticut. So then I had to make a decision. If I'm going to be a massage therapist in Connecticut, I'm going to have to go to massage school all over again. I did make the decision to go all over again. So that's like a rare story. Not many people go to massage school twice. But I just felt so like identified as a therapist at that point. I was 7 years in. And I was just thinking to myself, I don't want to go to school for a chiropractic career or acupuncture. I just really felt like I was a great body worker and massage therapist, and I wanted to thrive in that state. So, anyways, going to school though, I did see that it wasn't master student style, right? And that school had been bought out by a franchise. And so they were just kind of grabbing at whatever teachers wanted to teach because they had lowered the pay for all the teachers. And I noticed that there were teachers who were struggling as therapists in the field. Maybe they were newer therapists with not that many years experience. And I was a little bit shocked, like, oh my gosh, these students aren't going to be thriving as well once they're, graduated. And also at that point, the franchises had exploded. And so it's like at the end of graduation, you're expected to go work for the franchise. Well, obviously, I was like raring to go to start my private practice at that point, and I had received mentoring and coaching myself. I've actually received coaching off and on my whole career. When I really think about how much I've spent over 20 something years, it's close to $200,000 in coaching. And I've done it every time so that I could basically fast track my success. And so I wanted to go from 0 to 6 figures as fast as possible. I hired a coach. And then at some point, after several years of earning 6 figures, which is like such a peak moment in your career, it
Yeah.
really is such a like you're such a proud it's a proud moment because what some people don't realize, like 6 figures, you have to be at least over 8,000 something a month for 12 months in a row. And so anyway, I just was so proud, and I was kind of sharing with people online about my success in the massage forums, and just getting, I don't know, I wanted to be an inspiration for others. Like if I could do it, you guys can do it, kind of a thing. Well, the funny thing about formally mentoring and coaching is I actually wanted to be a health coach for my massage clients first. And I did offer some programs to my massage clients, but I thought I was going to be this big health coach in the area. And I was thinking I'm gonna start a workshop, and I wanted to explain to my massage clients the difference between stress, inflammation, and fascia. And I was like, I know I can tie these all together so that people can understand their bodies more and how stress and inflammation affects our fascia, and it's all connected. So I had this, connecting the dots workshop, stress, inflammation, fascia, and I marketed it online. And I thought all my massage clients were going to show up, or people in the community that were, and then I would pitch them health coaching at the end of the workshop. Well, I show up and it's only massage therapists. And I was thinking to myself, like, what are they doing here? They're not going to buy health coaching from me. So I was kind of like a little annoyed at first because I just thought it was going to be a totally different group. But I ended up teaching it, and they loved it. And then I was like, okay, next month I'm going to do the same thing. And now, like this time, my massage clients are going to show up. And literally the same thing happened again the next month. It was all massage therapists. They all wanted to learn from me. And I think they also wanted me to teach them how to be successful. And so it really organically happened. And my coach at the time was like, you need to pay attention to who's showing up and wants to learn from you. So then I went like a hard pivot into success coaching massage therapists. And that was 2016.
I love that so much. And there's so much to like go into, so many routes that we could talk about within what you just shared. And I love that you were given, it sounds like kind of this sprinkle of like, here's some lived experience from getting your mentorship directly and then getting to witness in massage school how the general massage education isn't setting us up for success. And it's even since being limited more and more and more with the cutting of hours across the country. And I love that you were given that divine opportunity. I'm just going to call it that, this opportunity to experience that so that you could step up in that way that someone decided you were going to be incredible at, and you've been doing an incredible job thus far. And I'm curious if you've had any like a moment in your own career where your body or your nervous system kind of gave you a hard stop and experience. You mentioned burnout with your dance career. Did you ever have that kind of a moment in your massage career, like your body was telling you you can't keep doing it this way?
Well, that's an interesting question. And I will tell you that I was so young when I started. And I had come into the field like just figuring out how to really take care of myself and be like super healthy. So, and my mentors really sort of prepped me for this field in terms of
Mm.
the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual strength and stamina that is required. So I was really prepared and young to start this career and thrive without really any sense of burnout. I mean, I do remember a couple of days in my 20s, I suppose, when I like, stacked them 6 in a day or 7 in a day, and I would just like, collapse in exhaustion at the end of the day. But I will say that because I was already in a position of youth and knowing how to live the lifestyle of a body worker and someone who's taking this work on because it's not easy, but again I was like very prepared ahead of time on how to take proper care of myself and show up with a lot of energy to all my sessions, and I was like young. So I keep saying that I'm like I'm 40, I'm going to be 44 now in August, and so now I can feel like late 30s I would say is when I started to realize, okay, I'm not recovering as fast. I had early signs of arthritis and when I was doing a lot of deep tissue. And so, yes, I did have some like physical burnout where it's like I sprained my wrist or I can't even use my thumbs because I've over thumbed, all my clients. I would say I kind of pivoted into tools. At that point, I was maybe like 36, 35, and I was getting into cupping therapy and some of the fascia tools and the fascia blasters and the gua sha scraping type of tools. And so, and then I got into frequency tools and I kind of became this tool person all of a sudden because I was trying to save my hands. But I would say there's also like when I think about burnout, there's physical burnout, right? And that's exhaustion and injury or just poor lifestyle, basically not getting enough sleep or staying hydrated, or you're balancing your blood sugar, staying strong and all those things. Um, then there's mental burnout, which is like kind of boredom, I would say. And so, yes, I've experienced all the types of burnout, I would say. So, like the mental boredom. I mean, I say even once I was at 6 figures, like year 3, year 4, year 5, it was like kind of going through the motions. Is this it? I'm just making 6 figures, yay me, but I was sort of bored, like going through the motions at some point, and that's where really coaching kind of became like a mental challenge that I really appreciated, because it wasn't just me in the treatment room with my clients. I was able to pass on some of the knowledge that I've learned, and I feel like that intellectually took me out of mental burnout. um, have I gone through personal drama in my life? Yes, we all do. In and out of relationships with men, engaged, that didn't work out, and breakups. Was that challenging? I had an ectopic pregnancy at one point that was like somewhat traumatic and difficult to recover from. So, yes, I mean, our personal drama, I feel like, can lead to burnout. Although I will say that sometimes in life with personal drama, the treatment room is like this refuge of just like sanity and sacred space. So even going through difficult times in my personal life, my work life was actually this like meditative safe space, if you will, just to like focus on helping somebody else feel better, even if I'm like crying right before the session, trying to get myself together. So there's like emotional burnout, and then I would say I never really had the spiritual burnout. To me, a spiritual burnout is feeling like this isn't your calling, like you're not really meant for this work, and people feel called to do other types of work, and their heart's not in it anymore. Um, that hasn't really left. I still do massage and body work, even though I'm not full time anymore. I never like lost the love for it, and it's still spiritually meaningful and rewarding, I would say.
Yeah, awesome. You've made such incredible points. And so much, I think, I love that you were prepared. I love that you were prepared by, I mean, being young, starting this career, and being able to get that unique mentorship that really sets you apart, I believe. So many people are not necessarily given those tools. I come from a kind of a different experience. I also started really super young. I was 19 when I graduated massage school, but I had my first burnout experience, as I've shared in previous episodes, with fibromyalgia and just completely bedridden for a couple of months at my worst, while working at a high volume franchise. And I think, as you're listing out the emotional burnout, the mental burnout, the spiritual burnout, I think for me, in my experience, it was kind of all of those crashing down at once. It was so tied in with personal stuff going on, in addition to being overworked and a little bit taken advantage of in my position. I was a manager at only 20 years old, and that was just not a good thing. We learn a lot in those experiences. And I think you speak to a really great point. I want to like just shine the light on why personal mentorship, and going back to that root model that you had that experience with, of getting that direct mentorship from someone to be set up for success, rather than kind of going through a massage mill kind of an educational experience. There are so many people who don't continue to invest in themselves, don't necessarily recognize that a coach is an ongoing thing. I mean, I've done the thing where I've tallied up how much I've spent on coaching programs, and it's like, yeah, that's a lot. But it's always so worth it, right? And I'm really, I love that there's so many people, especially now, there's more and more different types of coaches that are offering different variations of what we've learned through our own experiences. Like, oh, if only I had this when things started getting rough for me. And it sounds like everything that you're teaching, what you bring to the table for the people that you get to support in this way, has been something that it sounds a little bit more lineage based, rather than you had to kind of figure it all out as you went. And so I'd love to hear a little bit more about the framework that you teach, that's based on mindset, technique, self-care, and business. Those are your four pillars. Am I correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. How does, and particularly how each one might play a bigger or smaller role in preventing burnout, since that I'm so focused on that kind of conversation right now.
Yeah, I mean, I did come up with a framework with my mentors and coaches, and we were kind of just like, what has made you successful, and let's like create a framework around that. And so that's where the four pillars came from. Mindset is a foundation, and it's a big topic, but in terms of like mm, what I was experiencing, like as opposed to the mainstream education, right? To me, the mindset was that this is a very powerful, incredible, like type of work that you're going into. Like, I always say that it feels like sometimes with mainstream massage education that we're sort of being trained to be these lowly day spa workers. We don't have doctor in front of our name. So we're like at the bottom of the totem pole in a lot of people's minds, underneath a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, a physical therapist. And so I was not taught that at all with mindset. You know, I saw crazy, miraculous healings with massage and bodywork. It was like the pendulum swung to the other side, where it was like the highest of heights of what could happen with massage and bodywork. And I saw what they did with their clients, like really short of miracles. And so to me, it was like, oh my gosh, this is like incredible work. I I didn't have this limitation about it, right? And it was like I said, only after I kind of left California that I realized other people had this sort of scarcity mindset, poverty mindset, inferiority complex in the field. And that's how they start in the field. And it sets the tone and it's really sad and it sets them up for failure. So I kind of feel like it's not really their fault in a lot of ways that we are sort of set up to be these lowly day spa workers that earn minimum wage, that are just, you know, being manipulated in the field. Anyways, I'm so sad about that. And that is kind of part of what I'm trying to do with the mindset is like, this can be so much more, but you're not going to learn this from your schools and the teachers and the politics of the field. Like, we have to raise ourselves up to this higher level of standard and excellence where we feel equal to, at least, to our other holistic colleagues in the field. And so mindset is a key thing because I think people kind of already come into it a little bit downtrodden, right? Just a little bit, just inferiority complex is the word. So low confidence, uh, and feeling like there's only so much we can accomplish. The thriving in private practice and earning six figures. Well, there's more of us now, but back then it was like very rare that a therapist ever like reached that height, and so it just seemed like it wasn't possible. We're just doomed to struggle. And that leads to burnout. You're kind of like already starting out in this place where you're not thriving or it's not possible to thrive. That's definitely already setting the tone for burnout and never being satisfied or happy or successful. So mindset is like the best place to start, and it's the most important pillar. And then techniques. I mean, everyone should choose and explore the modalities that they resonate with, that they love to practice. And obviously, there's like umpteen million options.
That's a great thing. I love that.
Yeah. So really, I think people need to make the effort to explore and figure out who you are as a therapist and what modality like is what you're meant to practice, and that can change. Of course, people do trainings forever and can shift and pivot at any time, but you really, whatever modality you choose, like, you have to be so excited to practice it and believe in what you're doing and feel excited to go into session. Because if you aren't experiencing that, that's obviously going to lead to burnout as well, because you're just not excited, you're not passionate about it. And if you aren't excited and passionate, then all of the things that like annoy us all the time, like we're dealing with people's personalities, we're dealing with no-shows, we're dealing with creepers, like there's so many things that are a burden to us because
Laundry.
we're a service provider working with the general public and all of the issues that comes with. You won't overcome these things mentally if you're not like super pumped about techniques and modalities and what you're practicing and feeling the love. So, and then obviously some modalities just aren't good for certain people's bodies and they can physically injure themselves, etc. So that one, I think we all know about, that. Self-care does not get talked about enough, and self-care is more than just receiving massage, although that is the bare minimum,
Yep.
obviously. But again, I was really prepared to live the lifestyle of a healer, if you will, and that is really being in peak health. I try to tell people on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 is like optimum health. You're perfect in every way. There's no room to improve. You're the ultimate picture of health and wellness. And then 1 is you're about to die. We should at least strive for 8, in my opinion, especially if you want to be successful in this field and a full-time practice. When I hear about people being like 5 and under, I don't even know if you should be in this field doing this kind of work, because talk about burnout. Like, if you're already struggling with your health and now you're trying to help other people with their health, I would rather people focus on improving their health, honestly. because again, this is hard work. And if you're already going into sessions every day, every week, every month, struggling with your health, it's not sustainable. And it's dangerous. I am not someone who coaches people to compromise their health for wealth. Health comes first. I started with health first, and so, but when therapists think, oh, I just need more marketing strategies and I'll be successful. Meanwhile, their health is like a 4, 5, 6. I'm like, no, you need to improve your health so that you have the energy and the stamina to actually give to people because it's a giving profession and you have to give so much energy. There has to be so much output. And so having the tools and the lifestyle practice to replenish and recharge, like I'm very disciplined about my lifestyle. And the older I get, I have to get even more disciplined. There is no room to mess up on that, just because the recovery is slower as you get older. So even the therapists that were always older than me in the field in their 50s, 60s, and even 70s, super disciplined, healthy lifestyle, to keep up with the demands of the profession and to stay like relevant in the field with that much energy output. So, healthy living, I'm not going to go into all the details about that, but I just feel like so many people aren't doing the basics and they don't feel good and they think it's burnout on massage. But to me, they're dehydrated or their blood sugar is imbalanced or they're staying up scrolling till 2 a.m. And it's like, come on, people, these are the basics. Just like take care of yourself better. So there's
Yeah.
that. And then business, same thing. It's really the basics. Do we need an MBA? No. Really, to have a successful massage practice, it's just the basics, but I think that we aren't really taught a lot of that in school, and then people don't seek out that information and training in their CEs or with coaching and mentoring. And I don't know, I still feel like some therapists have gotten away with paper planners and flying by the seat of their pants, just word of mouth. That still exists to this day and age. And hey, to each their own. Do you have to do all the things that we teach in 2025 to be relevant in business? You don't have to, but if you want things to be efficient, to me, business, the pillar in terms of avoiding burnout is efficiency, right? And I know you teach this a lot, right? Like, let's automate things, let's delegate things because you have to wear a million hats as a business owner. And if you don't want to feel burnout or like you're constantly behind the 8 ball, then this is where having the business systems and the business basics in place is going to just let you shine and do your thing. And everything's running like a well-oiled machine, and you don't constantly feel like it's chaos and you're behind, and you are, yeah, like running around with your chicken with a head cut off. What is that saying?
Yes, absolutely.
So those are the 4 pillars and kind of how they relate to burnout.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, so much to be acknowledged in what you just shared. And I want to kind of circle back to one of the things that you said was about that kind of that elusive six figures that everyone is always talking about and, looping that into the efficiency and the business strategy. And and then also what you said about the stamina required for this work. All of that, I think that from a logical kind of a 3D viewpoint, those all seem different from one another. They seem separate, but they're actually also interwoven. When you're able to show up and hold space for your clients in a really profound way because you slept really well and you've been able to take the time to leave your personal stuff at the door and show up fully, that's when your clients are going to go, this was the absolute best experience because you're connecting with them on a frequency. It's not just that you had the energy to be able to meet the demands of their tissue or to be able to remember what types of techniques that can help them, right? Those are physical manifestations of your body being able to support them and your mind being able to use your tools to their benefit. But even just on a frequency level, and I know we could tangent all day on a frequency level about how showing up for clients naturally leads to the results of, I mean, I'm going to get six figures off the table here, but the abundance that we're all looking for, being able to support the most abundant version of our lives. And it really comes down to how are we fueling ourselves in so many different ways. I can go on the nutrition bandwagon for so long. I can go on the mindset piece and all of that. So there's so much to be said for that. And I want to kind of ask you if through your time coaching and mentoring other body workers and having such a really great background in being able to support in that kind of a mentor way versus I'm just so grateful for hearing from your perspective because it seems like you were just given such a different experience entry into the massage world. Is there kind of a handful or like subtle cues that you've been able to see that burnout is kind of on its way, or that there's low level burnout happening without people necessarily understanding? I mean, they could even still be really passionate about the work, but just kind of hitting their head over and over again. I'm curious if there's anything you've seen as a pattern in this profession.
Yeah, you're right. It does start subtle first before it becomes a full-blown meltdown. And I would say some of the subtleties, well, even I'm sure we've all experienced this one. You're in session and it feels like it's 5 hours long when there's only, like 30 minutes left. And you're like, how is there 30 minutes still left in this session when I've already been massaging for 10 days? And I just think it's like we don't want to be there. We're not really involved, losing ourselves in the work. We're watching every minute of the clock so we can just be like, okay, we're done. So my coach always said that too. Like you can tell when you're watching the clock that you're not in it. Like you're like, I just want to get out of here. I just need a break. And yeah, I guess probably like wishing for days off and breaks. Although sometimes I feel like the more we have those moments, you get it with cancellations, don't we? Talk about your energy and your frequency
Mm-hmm.
being really strong with your reality. So, yeah, when you're wishing for the session to be over already, when you're wishing for days off and wishing for a break, and sometimes it can just be we need a break, and that's easy. Like just take a few days off, take a week vacation if you haven't in a while. If you've been like, full time back to back and all that. So that's one thing, but I have seen people, I would say, towards the end of their career, there's this whole career cycle I talk about where you're like a beginner, novice, then you're in the peak years of your career, then you're kind of in this transition where you don't want to do full-time hours anymore and you're trying to transition to part-time hours while you're doing some other type of work that's complementary. And then at some point you completely retire and you just want to be hands off. So I think that people that are going from their peak years to transition years, they have all these ideas in their head of like other work they want to do instead of full-time massage. Maybe they want to scale and have a multi-therapist practice, or maybe they want to do some type of coaching, or maybe they want to do some type of like movement or breath work or whatever. So like they start to get really obsessive, I would say, about like other revenue streams or other types of services or products even that they could start to allocate their energy towards because they're in transition. And that's where you see it's like grasping, like I've got to do something besides massage. And I don't know if that's burnout, it's just like a different phase of your career. And then when people are like, I just want to be hands off and retire altogether, they are also kind of feverishly looking for a career, maybe a retirement career, or they just, it's like all they do is complain. I've kind of seen that. It's like, uh, the blame game, like clients, I'm whatever. They're mad at their clients for every single thing under the sun or the economy or whatever. It's like all these excuses, mostly because they just want to retire and get out of it, you know? So they're kind of like, I don't know, some of them are grateful, I would say, for the years that they've been in it. But I think when people are like really, really done, burned out, they can't find the silver lining in any of it. They're just ready to move on. I guess that those are the signs that I've seen kind of at different phases of the career cycle.
That makes a lot of sense depending on the different parts of the career that they're in. And I mean, I tend to find people when they're at that place where they're ready for something else. They're not ready to get rid of massage completely, but they know they want to create space for something else. But there's such a huge, it's actually not a huge leap. You and I both know this, but in the mind, it seems like a huge leap in order to create the things like passive income or adding on different things like that. And I know that going a little bit more hands-free and creating passive income is one of the ways that you support your people in the same way that I support people. I know we both do it differently, so I would love to know a little bit more about how you help people kind of bridge that leap and realize that it's not actually such a big thing to do, but it actually does make a tremendous impact on our sustainability and what we can accomplish with our careers.
Yeah, I agree. Well, kind of like how I got into this in a very organic way, like even coaching to me, it just sort of happened. And so I feel like the best business ideas and the best business direction or path to go in, it starts to occur sort of naturally and organically out of someone's natural talents or desires or passions. And so there's lots of options. And I have my things that I have loved, like frequency therapies and thermography and coaching, product affiliate sales. Like that's kind of my jam. And these are the things that I'm passionate about. And it sort of naturally and organically came about. And if anyone else is interested in those things and kind of on the same page as me, then I'm happy to refer them. But I have also coached people where their thing is teaching. They want to be a CE instructor and launch online courses. I am now also coaching people who have a multi-therapist practice and they have, 4, 6 treatment rooms, and they really see themselves as a leader of other therapists, helping to create an environment where, they can thrive with multiple therapists. So it's worth looking at the aptitude of like, what is my nature? Am I a leader of other, would I be a gifted instructor? Do I love education? Do I love being a leader of others? Or am I passionate about sharing my favorite things, and maybe affiliate, product sales would be really natural because you like naturally like to share things with others and sell. So it kind of just depends, but I will say the passive income thing kind of gets thrown around, and it's really residual income
Mm-hmm.
that we're talking about. And because passive is just like if someone hands you money, like you receive an inheritance or something. But I even like to say that investors who invest in the stock market or crypto or something that are receiving, passive income, like they put a lot of work into learning how to be a good investor. So there's nothing like really passive. You usually put in a lot of work and a lot of hours to grow an income stream. And then at some point, if you've built it correctly, depending on what it is, it can be residual where you're earning every month, depending on how well you're doing your marketing and selling. But I tell people like multiple revenue streams, like each stream is a business. You have to think of it like all the energy and time you put into building a massage income, you're going to put time and energy into building another revenue stream, and it's not going to happen overnight. And you're going to have to put in, work and effort and energy just like you did. But I do like massage therapy as like a foundational business. And I do think everything we have to learn to even be successful with massage, a lot of these skills can be applied to other businesses and revenue streams, which I love that for myself and therapists. So, learning how to sell massage, market and sell massage, well, now you learn how to market and sell like anything else that you want. whether it's teaching or a course or a product or a new type of wellness service. So anyway, I like when therapists have kind of mastered the massage practice
Mm.
business and then think of it as a foundational business. And then, like I said, whenever something's kind of naturally and organically leading them in a direction, they're usually more likely to be successful with that.
That makes so much sense. And really doing that audit of oneself and their nature and what they enjoy doing already in their business to be able to figure out what income stream is actually going to feel good. Because there's so, especially with this day and age in technology, there's so many different things that we can do. And it can get so overwhelming and it can kind of feel like, well, I'll put all my effort into this one thing because I see it working for someone else. And then you realize that you're actually just spinning your wheels and getting even more burnt out doing something that isn't necessarily aligned.
Exactly.
Yeah. And it creates a worse problem than when we started. So that's a really great, conversation, I think, to have about like recognizing first and foremost, kind of brain mapping. I love a good brain dump. I feel like that's one of the biggest tools that I offer people when they're in this place of like, well, I could do this and this and this and this and this. I hear that a lot too, where their ideas are bouncing all over the place. I probably attract that kind of person because I'm that kind of person. So being able to have a really good brain dump, just take it all out of your brain, put it on a paper, and then walk away from it for a little bit and come back and see like, which ones am I still thinking about? Like, which ones are actually really, really exciting for me? Which ones do I feel like it doesn't even like, you don't even have to necessarily have evidence that it works for other people because if it's in your mind and it's on your mind, there's something there telling you that there's fruit to be developed from that experience. So I love looking at the skills and natural abilities that we already have to be able to tap into what that revenue stream could be because it will come so much more naturally too. We won't be forcing it.
Oh, thank you for saying this point because we are such an age, and I'm guilty of this as well, especially when I was younger, um, trying to copy your way to success. I mean, my mentor has even really called it covetousness, which is really
Mm.
kind of the uglier sort of like jealousy and kind of trying to actually be somebody else and live their life. And we hear this all the time in the massage field. I hear it all the time where it's like this massage therapist was working for me. She went and started her own practice. She copied my same exact menu, like the same products I use. Like everything is like a carbon copy, cut and paste. And it's like, oh, it feels like someone took something from you or like they stole your like concept and your ideas. And it's we're in this world where we're on social media and people are just copying and coveting and stealing. And it's like it's creepy and it's not authentic. It's normal, but it's not natural. And it's a big problem. I think when people are doing that and probably just they're not even maybe aware that they're doing it, like I'm stealing this person's whole life and trying to be just like them. They might not have those words in their mind, but they're probably like, I admire this person and I want to be successful just like they are. So maybe if I try and like outwardly look like them, act like them, do my business exactly just like them, then maybe I can be successful. It comes from this deep place of insecurity. Like, it's so sad because people haven't like explored themselves. Like, what if you didn't have a knowledge of anyone else doing anything? Like, what would naturally come out of you, you know? And we just don't take the time to explore that in ourselves. It's just too, it's like intellectually lazy, you know? And I just think when we do that, it doesn't lead to long-term success. It just doesn't. It leads to short-term success if you even have success at all, you know? And so it's just kind of like it's disappointing to see. I've been disappointed in myself when I've caught myself doing that, even in small ways. And I've been called out on it, and I call other people out on it. Just like try and do your own thing because it's going to ultimately be the more successful path for you. But you have to take time to think about, what do I really want to do? What's a creative idea that came from just contemplation or yeah, everything we want, like we want it overnight too. It's like some of these things take time. It's not going to happen in 2 seconds. So anyways, thanks for bringing that point up because it deserves a little side rant.
No, absolutely. It's important because authenticity, especially now with how fast everything is moving, I mean, getting off of the burnout train, it doesn't even matter. Like the importance is that your clients aren't going to resonate with you if you're inauthentic. You're again right back to the vibration, the frequency of what we're putting out there. If it's not us, then it's just going to completely, with the attention spans of whatever people are experiencing online, it's just going to go right out the window. But that, like you mentioned, a bright idea coming through contemplation, you might be witnessing an incredible marketing concept that someone that you admire is doing, and that probably came to them through their intuitive channels. And it's working beautifully for them because that came through them. And we could copy and paste another business model and it could completely, it probably will flop. I would bet my money that it would flop because that it's not in resonance. So giving the time for, I think it's perfectly appropriate to be like, wow, this person is really inspiring. And then taking the time to sit in contemplation and wonder, like, what is it about them? Is it their photography? Is it how they show up? Is it the message that they have? Are the services something that I would really like to emulate? And then coming from that point of view of understanding why we're in admiration of them, how do we do this authentically? Because it's not to say like, oh, if they're doing cupping, I can't do cupping because that's not my thing. We can still do the thing, but it needs to come from a place of why is that inspiring for me? Because that's usually reflecting a piece in ourselves that we want to help blossom in that way. And that's just my perspective.
Yeah, you're right. Again, there's either like deep, deep insecurity and covetousness, and intellectual laziness, or there's like a natural curiosity, which is a much higher vibration. And so when you're in the space of I'm exploring, I'm curious, does this resonate with me? Let me just feel this out a little bit. That's totally different than that like deep sense of almost even self-hatred. Like I hate myself so much. I don't want to be myself. I want to be somebody else because I just don't want to be me. And that's so sad. So that's like a dark, low place to come from. It's different than a natural curiosity or exploration.
Yeah. Well, and these subconscious blocks and beliefs is like such a core piece of what I've shifted into in my business. I recently became certified in hypnotherapy, and it has become a crux of what I do with my clients because we can teach them strategy all day. And I'm sure you've witnessed this as well. Strategy can come at you. You can learn all the strategy that pretty much everyone teaches for free on YouTube. So let's just be straight there. You can learn pretty much everything marketing wise, strategy, business for free. But what it comes down to is implementing it successfully is, are you going to allow yourself to do that? We have this, I mean, you called it, you nailed it on the head of a kind of a belief system of self-hatred. And I think a lot of that comes from the type of person that the body worker tends to be that sets us up for being really good in this profession. So this dark side of who we are creates this people pleasing mentality. It also comes alongside this scarcity mindset or starving healer syndrome that we see quite a bit, and this martyr complex that we have. And it's interesting because, as I said, I believe it really does put us in a beautiful position to be able to help serve others. We do really want to help others and show up in our sessions. It leads to burnout because we're giving, 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 often from an empty cup. But it does give us that opportunity for it to become a gift, right? So I'm curious how you like in your work, how you like to help therapists let go of those limiting mindsets and really step into a more sustainable practice.
Well, I would say, I stay in my scope, of course.
Mm.
talk therapist and I'm not really a counselor for like deep, deep mental emotional work, I would say. But I try to lead by example and share what like a healthy mindset would be, um, as opposed to like an unhealthy mindset. And I'm not perfect, but I've overcome several challenges and limiting beliefs myself. So I say in that department, I just kind of share my own experiences of like if I can relate or connect with they're going through something, I've also gone through that something. And so how did I like navigate my way out of that to a healthier place? So I would say it's everyone has their unique isms and schisms or like thoughts and feelings that are mental blocks, emotional blocks. And so as it comes up, like I said, I can only really just draw from my experience and share how I have come out of it. And if it's helpful, great. And in some cases, like I said, I kind of stay in my lane. And if they need to be directed to like a mental or emotional health professional, then, I'm totally open for people to like do what they need to do for their health, like depending on it's a spectrum, right?
Absolutely.
It's like a pretty big gray area here. And so, depending on where we are on the scale, they may need more professional help that I can't provide. But if we are sort of like in a place where they can just hear how I've overcome it and have like a mental mindset shift and that's effective, great. That does happen often.
Yeah. Well, stories are so important. It's how our brain was learned how to learn through hearing stories and experience, sitting around the campfire and hearing how, so and so took down that boar. The community learned, the kids who were growing up about to go take out that boar, oh, they learned those tricks, then they get to go out and do that. I heard that analogy from a presenter, the Mind Valley thing, and it was just like, wow, that makes so much sense that's how we learn. And the stories are so incredible. Is there a story that you frequently use, that's something that you've overcome that you frequently share with your coaching clients?
Oh, so many. I actually am so grateful for, 23 years of experience because I can just pull up a memory, like I have it's still in me. Everything I've ever been through with all these years of being a massage therapist, um, I use all of my experience, and I don't know. There's probably several stories. I don't know if I can just pick one, honestly. But I am grateful for all the years of experience. I mean, I guess something with women mostly that I have to share is like overcoming the creeper thing, right? Unfortunately, we have to have these conversations in this day and age with women. So, how do we navigate that? And I feel like some of these difficult challenges in our field are like rites of passage, like using your voice to speak up for yourself, standing for what's right, and not being afraid to, have boundaries, strong boundaries and policies. So, yeah, I would say that's like a comment. I've overcome many of a situation of having to deal with creepers, especially when I was younger. And so anyways, I mean that's just like one thing. There's so many things. Sorry, I can't choose
Yeah.
one.
No, it's great. And people can absolutely reach out to you, find out more, because there's so much experience and so much support you've been able to offer people. So I love that. Yeah, I definitely threw that out of left field for you. Now, kind of like if you were to say, for example, I'm a therapist coming to you, maybe first or second coaching session with you and just asking or just saying to you, like, I really don't know how much longer I can do this. Is there kind of a nugget that you would share?
Well, I do actually have something called the Four Pillars audit. It's like a 50 question questionnaire. And so I kind of want to know like why do you feel burned out? Kind of going back to there's multiple reasons for it. And is it an easy fix, some of these things are easier like problems to solve. Some of them are pretty large. So I kind of need the context of like why we're burned out and how much longer do you want to keep doing this? Because everyone's situation is different. I mean, this is where I've kind of gotten away from one-off coaching calls because I don't want to give generic advice that I'm not sure. I used to be a coach when I was a more of a beginner coach where I'm like, everyone needs to do this, like everyone needs to raise their rates. I was that girl. And I'm like, actually, now that we dive into like a deeper story about where this person is at, maybe they shouldn't raise their rates, or like maybe they shouldn't raise by that much, or maybe they're way behind on raising and they need to catch up for like 10, 20 years if they didn't raise. So I need like a lot more context for an individual and the direction of their life and what they're going through personally and their health and everything so that I can give proper advice. Because yeah, if burnout is just an unhealthy lifestyle, they can change that. They really can get more energy. They can feel more optimistic. They can feel like they have better stamina. If someone is burned out because they're going through a really heavy divorce situation, that's not an easy fix, and they have to like figure out what's going to happen with their marriage. In other words, like everyone's problems are like very unique to them. So I really try to listen first and then try and give like very personalized advice.
You bring up a really important point there with as well, like doing the full audit and being able to see, well, which ones of these might be easy? Because I think sometimes, and I get this way with checklists, I'm a massive checklist person for myself, but I often end up with all of these things because, again, I'm onto one thing and another thing and another thing. That's just my personality. But once my checklist gets really big, my brain automatically thinks like these are too many things. I can't focus on any of them. And I'm curious, I think that the audit, being able to put it all out kind of in that brain dump style, taking it out of the brain and putting it on a paper so that your logical mind can look at it, if yes, there's a bigger picture thing going on, but you also are mildly dehydrated and you're scrolling on Instagram up until 2 o'clock in the morning, those are fairly easy things to fix in incremental waves. And that would be something to maybe focus on those things. And then the bigger issues actually start feeling so like they're not heavy. They're not as heavy anymore. They might still be a heavy situation like a divorce or something like that, but you'll be more well resourced to be able to experience them, work through them, and just be in them. And so that's such a really great resource. Do you have that as a part of when people work with you? Is it a resource that we can link in the show notes? Is that something that we can share?
No.
Well, we'll definitely share like where people can work with you, and that will be a part of a process of working with you. So, let us know where can the listeners reach out to you, follow you, all that good stuff.
Well, to your point, actually just filling out the questionnaire, and you're right, getting all of that information out is just clarifying all by itself. And so that is usually where I have people start. It's called the Massage Success Review. It's on my website, melindaloo.com. You scroll down to the bottom of that homepage, and the Massage Success Review is $47. You fill out the questionnaire, and then I'll look at it and share like a quick tips and advice, some general guidance and direction. It's not like a full-blown coaching call, but I kind of give you a place to start, improving certain areas based on what you wrote. And then I record that in a Zoom video. So that would be the best place to start. I am on Facebook. I have a group called LMT Success Community. I'm on Instagram, Melinda Loo Mentor. So you can find me in all those places.
Amazing. That sounds like such an incredible resource and a great way to start with that like micro hit and big overview. So, absolutely, that's awesome. We'll link that in the show notes. And I want to say thank you so much, Melinda, for joining us. It has been absolutely incredible hearing more about your journey, and we could probably talk for hours. There's so many tangents I want to get to. So, maybe we'll have another one of these and go a little deeper into all those little side chats.
Yes, this was really rewarding, and thank you for letting me share my story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thanks for listening to The Sustainable Body Worker. If something resonated for you today, grab your free breakthrough session, which includes a custom hypnotherapy track to help you unlock the next level. Grab it now with the link in the show notes. And to hear more, hit subscribe. I'll see you next time.